And welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan, and today I have a second, more detailed review of the Shadow and Bone TV show. Now, the first time I watched it, it was just to watch it because I was so excited for it, and I had not finished all of the books I wanted to read. But as it turns out, you really only needed to read Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows to watch it. I still have not read Six of Crows, but I'm sure whatever Six of Crows is about, it is hopefully relevant or whatever. If not, even better, than I didn't get spoiled for anything in the book. So I wanted to talk about some more details from the show. So if you have not watched the show, leave, because I am literally going to go straight into talking about details. I'm not going to make this vague at all because I've already done that. And I think I even talked about details in my other review of the TV show. So this is just about the Shadow and Bone TV show. I don't have really any books to show you, so I just kind of propped up my Shadow and Bone. I have this lovely paperback edition, which is the one I actually read, and I got the box set for that like 2 or 3 years ago before they were like a couple $100s. Now they're like $45 for this set, and you can't even guarantee that you get that set. My mom ordered the set, and it showed this photo, and she got the other ones that we consider ugly because we don't like them. We like these ones, and we didn't get that. I also have my beautiful Fairy Loot edition showing right here because I want it to be shown since I'm talking about it. So I have my little list in front of me, so I'm going to keep looking at that. So I just want to make sure that I talk about everything that I wanted to talk about, and hopefully it won't get me in trouble. I'm going to look it up if I can, if I'm allowed to. I will put the little snippets in here of the show that I'm specifically talking about. If I'm not allowed, then those won't be in here. So the first thing I want to talk about is right off the gate in the first episode. We get Alina's narration, and she's talking, and she's walking up to Mal, and she's saying, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you," you know, and it's sounding like they've been separated for a while. And I know I talked about this in my other video, but as I was watching it again, just to catch all the details and things that I missed the first time around, it was really prominent that they had been separated for a while. And I'm like, but in the book, they grew up together, and they were together, and they went together, which is why he never looked at her like that, because there was no separation making the heart grow fonder. They were just always together from the time they were like 8 until today. So I didn't really care for that, but again, some of the small details being changed are fine as long as the big plot of the story remains the same. And I'm totally fine with watching, 8 one-hour episodes of a show as long as it's true to the book. I'm totally cool with that. I will watch it as long as it's there. Perfectly fine by me. The next thing is Alexei being thrown off the ship. In the book, I'm pretty sure he was killed. Now, for the sake of the TV show, I'm going to let it go because we needed some way to loop in the crows. And Alexei was that little loop. He was what connected the crows to Alina. So I'm not even counting that as a flaw. It was something that was changed to make the show flow better, so I get it. However, the parts where they're showing Shadow and Bone versus the parts where they're showing Ketterdam, at the very beginning, the crows are trying to get into this judge's house or whatever because he has a prisoner in his basement and he's got a job. And they're off on trying to get the job so that they can go. Now, on the Shadow and Bone side, they're approaching the fold. They are getting ready to go to the fold. So my thing is, there was nothing that alerted me, that told me that the Six of Crows was 2 days ahead of, or 2 weeks ahead of the Shadow and Bone part. So what was going on with Shadow and Bone was 2 weeks ago versus what's going on with Six of Crows is, like today. I don't really know how to explain that any better. The Six of Crows were going to going to the judge's house to get information that Alexei had on the Sun Summoner, but when you're at the Shadow and Bone side, Alina's going on the boat, the skiff gets attacked, and then she bursts her light, and, that is the information that Alexei is holding, and there could have been something to let you know that what was going on at Shadow and Bone was in the past, or that Six of Crows was in the future. Because at some point the judge was like, we've had him here for 2 weeks. He hasn't said anything. He knows what happened on that skiff 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't said anything. And I'm like, okay, but no one ever referenced a timeline. No one said that this was 2 weeks ago, or that this is in the future or the past or whatever. So that was something that I didn't really care for. I like to know what time I'm in so that I know, where I am. Because otherwise, the first time I watched it, I thought it was going at the same time. They were, trying to get on this mission while Alina was going into the skiff and, into the fold and everything. But as it turns out, there was a 2-week gap. So that could have been made more clear. Or, they could have been like, on this date, and then for the Six of Crows side, they could have been like 2 weeks later. Just something that let us know. So, for the sake of the show, I understand them moving Alexei. He survived. He managed to walk through the fold and, get the information to the people on the other side, which, it feels like a betrayal, but really he did it to save his own life. And unfortunately, it didn't save his life, but it should have. He did what he was asked, but you can never count on the people torturing you to keep their word. And even if they tell you that you're going to be let go or you're going to be set free, they could be like, they're going to kill you. And then they're like, well, I set him free. He's as free as he'll ever be. He'll never be captive again. It's such a twisted way to do things. Like, I hate that, but it's the way bad guys are. So the next thing is Alina being in the tent after she has, saved everybody on the skiff and they've come back. In the book, Mal is in the tent, he's in the back, and he's watching all of this happen right there. And he's trying to get to her, and the Darkling puts his hand on her, and he, makes her power come out because he is an amplifier. However, in the TV show, he has that ring that he takes off, and he scratches her that lets her light out. I don't really care for that. That's not like, that was just something that was different that I didn't really care for. I mean, yeah, the ring is cool, but it's really not practical to walk around with that on your finger because it's just a claw and it's probably constantly scratching him. Not that he would care, but it's one of those things. It's just weird to me. And I prefer that to be true to the show. Yes, he is an amplifier, so he should have brought her power out like he did in the book. So that was just another little thing that, I'm going to let it go. It doesn't really upset me. It's just something that's different that's worth mentioning since I'm pointing out differences between the books and between the book and the show. And the Black Kefta. Now, I remember in the book reading that he was talking to Genya and he said, hey, make her kefta black. And she's like, oh no, please, can you make it blue? I want to blend in. I want to be like everyone else. And he's like, all right, make it blue. And then they made it blue. And they didn't make a black one for her until later, until she asked for it, I believe. I'm not sure if she asked for it or if it was made for her at some point like it was in the show. But in the show, it was made for her and it just arrived. And she's like, they're like, oh, you have to wear this at the fete. And she's like, all right. I'm like, that was like a kind of a little thing. She wanted to be kept important or kept like everybody else. And they did still work it in a few minutes later. She was going horseback riding with the Darkling and he was like, you're not wearing your black kefta. And she's like, no, I just want to be like everyone else. It'd be nice to know what that feels like. And he's like, okay, well, you're not going to be like everyone else. And she isn't, but I understand as someone who grew up always being on the outside of everything and everyone, I understand the need and the want to fit in. So, that was just something that was, again, slightly different. And then when they're getting on the horses and they're going away, he says, oh, please call me Alexander. And I'm like, bro, first of all, I'm still reading Ruin and Rising. Okay, I just got to like chapter 11 or 12 or something. And he has just told her his name. He's like, my name is Alexander. And I'm like, it's a huge freaking deal that he doesn't tell her his first name until the third book. Like, obviously there's a reason he hadn't done it. And now in the TV show, you're just going to blurt it out in like the third episode? What the hell? I didn't like that. That I didn't like. Because it's so important later that, you know, she is the only one he tells his actual first name to. And I'm like, why is he just giving it to her now? Like, that's such a ruiner. Like, it's, whatever. I don't like that. He didn't do that until the third book. And that's something that they could have kept true to the original. And the next thing that I remember is Alina rejecting David's gloves. The gloves that he has made her, he said it would make it easier to split one beam into two. Now, in the book, I don't remember if he said that or what it was for, but he said it was definitely easier to bounce light and to use them as weapons. Now, in the book, she trained with these gloves. She practiced with these gloves. She loved these gloves. And when she fled the little palace, she was sad that she forgot them or didn't have them with her to take them. So I'm not understanding why she rejected them in the TV show. They were a huge positive thing that helped her in the book. She trained with them, she practiced with them, she loved them. So why would she reject them in the show? They were an important part of the book. I mean, I guess it's not that important because, you know, I've read books 2 and most of book 3 and she hasn't used them again, but she also hasn't really been back to the little palace. In the second book, she did go back, but they had to flee again, so she didn't really get it. So I really don't like things changing. Like, if it's that way in the book, make it that way in the movie or the TV show. She could have been like, you know, thank you, and kept them in her pocket of her kefta or something and never used them, but at least it would have stuck a little bit more to the book than just her saying no thank you and giving them back to David. And speaking of David, I love his character. He is just like he is in the book. And the way I picture him in the book is the way he is in the TV show. And I'm not sure and I'm not positive, but I want to say it's kind of like on the autism spectrum. The way he is, he avoids looking at Genya until she's not looking. And the way he's just like, you know, and the Darkling is like, David, you don't have to, you know, raise your hand or whatever. And he's like, what? And he's like, I can, you know, just his personality. It just seems like the personality of someone who is autistic. And I'm not sure if he has the traits or if that was intentional or if he's just like one of those awkward people that just seems like that. But I think that's just what I think, me personally. And the next thing, oh yes, Mal was not at the little palace at the fete. It's spelled F-E-T-E, and I, reading the books, called it the fete. And then when I watched the show, it's called the fate. And I'm like, bro, with these words changing, like Genya, I was pronouncing it Genya, and it's Genya, so I have to correct myself. So Mal was not in the little palace at the fete. He was outside with the crows trying to get in. And that's another thing that changed from the books. In the books, he was in the palace. He was watching her do her little demonstration, and he pulled her aside and talked to her afterwards. And in the TV show, there was none of that. That didn't happen. And then immediately after the demonstration, she goes off, after she talks with Mal in the book, she goes off with the Darkling, and I'm pretty sure that's when they kiss. Because, you know, Mal has walked away, and he's like, I'm mad at you, I'm done with you, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, you know, I am fully 100% on Team Darklina. I just want you guys to know, Darklina, whoo, yes, I would choose the Darkling. People are like, oh my god, why wouldn't you choose Mal? Okay, first of all, Mal is not that cute. Second of all, yes, I would choose the Darkling. And to let you know a random little fact in real life, is it Jessie or Jessica? Jessie, Maylee? Whatever. She is 25. I am 27. The Darkling, Ben Barnes, is 39. And yes, I would totally be with him. I don't care about his age. Yes, I choose you, Ben Barnes. And I was watching that other part that's on Netflix. It has the interview with the cast, and Ben's like, oh, everybody's worried about Mal getting hurt. Nobody cares about me. Nobody's on my side. And I'm like, bitch, I'm on your side. Please, I am on your side. I will come and I will burn the world down with you. I will make the fold bigger. Please, I love you. So I'm on Team Darklina, and I want her to end up with him. But as I'm reading the books, and I've kind of been spoiled, I know that's not going to happen, which sucks, but whatever. Anyway, back to the things that I noticed that are different on my list. Alina not following Baghra's directions in the book and in the movie, I believe, and the TV show. She says, go down this hallway. There's going to be a fork. Go right. Bitch goes left. Okay, first of all, if you believe Baghra enough to flee the little palace in the middle of the night, secretly, if you believe her enough, why would you not follow her directions and go with her people? Why would you go off on your own? You're not being a prisoner. You know Baghra. She's not going to do that to you. She's just going to keep you safe from her son. But you chose to go off on your own. Why do people always do that? Oh, I'm the hero. I just need to go off on my own and be alone and figure it out. No. No. Let me tell you, if I'm the main character of a story, go right. Okay. Whoop. To the right. I am not arguing. I am not fighting with you. That is it. You said to go here. I'm going there. And speaking of that, at that point, the Apparat takes over the little palace while the Darkling is gone because the king has fallen ill and the queen is being kept, in her quarters so that she doesn't catch it or whatever. But here's my thing. In the freaking book, the Apparat disappeared. He went into hiding as well, which is the whole point of book 2. In book 2, Alina ends up doing whatever it is she does, the big battle at the end of book 1, and then in book 2, she is found underground, almost defeated, and the Apparat is keeping her hidden underground because the Darkling has taken over the castle and he's the one running it. He is now the king. But the Apparat is underground with Alina and all of the people who were running from him who don't want to be under his rule, and that is the whole point of book 2. So if the Apparat is running the palace in the TV show, where the fuck is Alina going? Where is she going? I don't understand. That's a big change. That was a huge, huge change from the book, and I don't like it. I don't know where season 2 is going to go. We'll see. But I'm telling you right now, I am not a fan of that. That did not stick to the book. They completely deviated from the system, and I didn't care for it. And the next thing on my list that I said is the antlers being fused to her bones. I know they were talking about it. She was talking about it with the Apparat in the library a couple times, saying, you have to fuse it to your bones. But in the book, it's a necklace. It's a collar thing. It's just been fused around her so she can't take it off. And at the end of the episode 8, which is the finale, she realizes that its power is hers, and it finishes sinking into her, and then it's just gone. It doesn't look like it's there at all. Now, in the book, it's still there. Like, in the second book, she is going through these towns, and she is hiding, and she's having to wear scarves, and she's touching it a lot, and whatever, and she's hiding it, and people recognize her because they see that. That's another huge thing. If she doesn't have that showing, or she's not trying to actively hide it, how is anybody going to know who she is? And she's trying to run away from the Darkling and escape him, and people are finding out who she is because they know she's got antlers around her fucking neck. And now in the TV show, she doesn't have that. So how the fuck are people going to give her up if they don't know that's her? Because not everybody knows what she looks like. So, what the fuck is with these changes? I did not like that either. I did not like the way it was fused into her skin and the little spikes were sticking out. That just looked weird. And I did not like that it finished being fused into her skin. And I did not like that there was that thing fused into the Darkling's hand. And they're like, oh, this is to help you control her powers. And I'm like, bro, He didn't need that before. He's an amplifier. Why would he need that? What is that? That is new. I don't like that. I don't like that. I didn't like that. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't care for that. Oh, hang on. My computer went dark. Ugh. I guess if my computer sits here for too long without me doing anything, it goes dark. So, anyway, I did not care for that. But, you know, whatever. That was... I could have let that go if the whole antler thing wasn't infused to her bones. That's just me, though. The next thing is the make me your villain. The part where he says that. He is talking to her, and he is trying to convince her that he is right. And he's like, I wanted to protect Grisha. I wanted to do this, and I am sick of ruling dumb kings. And as somebody who's watched The Witcher, I don't know if you guys have, but part of it, the main witch in that story, she lives for hundreds of years. She is a witch, and she lives for a few hundred years and a lot of kings, and she works for them and does what they tell her to. And she's like, you know, I'm sick of working for morons, helping them hide their affairs and, you know, keep their thrones when they don't deserve them. Someone who lives forever should have the throne. And while I disagree with that, I also agree with it. So I understand why the Darkling doesn't want to rule dumb kings just because of their bloodline. He's like, you guys are fucking morons. You're running this country to the ground. And on top of that, you're criminalizing Grisha for no reason. And now let me tell you, his backstory, it's always tragic. The tragic backstory. It's a trope, and I love it. His backstory, he helped the king at the time win a war. And then the king was like, motherfucker, you're dangerous to me, so now we're waging a war against you. And how dare you train other people to use their powers, you witch. And they just called them all witches, and they don't want them to exist. But obviously that changed hundreds of years. He created the fold, and then he worked alongside the king to make Grisha safe, and he did that. I understand him wanting to make the Grisha safe, but there is a better way to do that than to threaten with extending the fold even further and whatnot. So I get it. I get his point, and I get what he wants to do, and I'm so with him. But he is trying to show Alina his way, and every time she stumps him, she's like, but you took away my choice. And he's like, he can't argue with it because he knows he did. He can't argue because he knows she's right. And then she's like saying something, God, what did she say? I don't know. She said something, and, you know, she's like, you don't care who wins, or you don't care who you hurt as long as you win, or something like that. And he's like, fine, make me your villain. And I'm like, but you're really not making you the villain. You're making you the villain. Like, you're literally threatening people and killing people who don't agree with you. That's some villain shit. So stop it. She's like, we could have taken down the fold. We could have made Grisha safe. We could change things different, than a different way than you have been planning for the last 500 years. Like, he is so stuck on what happened 500 years ago. He is still hurting, and he hasn't let it go. And he's like, you know, I figured out a way a long time ago to change things. So this is the only way to do things, and it's the only correct way. But is it? It's not, though. It's not the only way to fix things. It's not the only way to make Grisha safe. And it's not the only way to kick a king off of his throne. So there's that. And now we're getting towards the last episode. Excuse me. Whew. So now we're getting towards the last episode. And I know Alina and Mal wanted to go off on their own because they feel safer together and blah, 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 and whatever. And they were saying something, Mal was saying something, oh, the whole world is hunting you. And she's like, I know a few people who like those odds, and it's the crows. Of course it's the crows. Kaz and Inej and Jesper would totally love those odds. Everybody in the world hunting her down, and it's their job to protect her. They would go for that so fast. I love it. I would totally want that to happen. I wanted them to team up and stick together on the boat. And then the whole Nina Zenik thing, I wanted her to join them because they need a heartrender. So why would they not just all be together? Like Kaz, Inej, Jesper, Nina, Mal, and Alina. I know that's 6 people. It's really hard to hide when you're in a group of people, but the best way to hide is to be with a group of people, because they're looking for Mal on her own, or they're looking for Mal or Alina on her own, and they're looking for Mal and Alina together. So if she was to stick with the crows, who the Darkling has pretty much forgotten about because he doesn't remember them being on the boat. Actually, I think they attacked him at the end, so yeah, he does remember them. But separating might be a good idea, but I think staying together would also be a good idea. Like, I don't know about you guys, but every time I'm watching like horror movies or something and they're like, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, let's all separate and do it. No, let's all stick together. Like, common sense says stick together. And, you know, it sucks because more people is more liability, and some people just aren't really that good at handling, you know, pressure, and they kind of get in the way and they make things harder. They're not quiet when you need them to be quiet. There's too many people to move from one location to the next. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, they need to stick together. I want to see them all go on a mission together or do something or whatever. But we'll see what comes of season 2. I did have a couple of questions towards the end. At the end of the first book, when Alina leaves, Alina blows up the skiff pretty much at the end of the book, and she leaves the Darkling fighting the creatures. I forget what they're called. She leaves the Darkling fighting the creatures on the boat by himself, but Jenya's on the boat, and there's a bunch of other people on the boat, and she feels extremely guilty for abandoning all those people on the boat. Now, in the TV show, they didn't really show much of that. They didn't show much of her abandoning the boat with all the people on it and leaving them in darkness the way she did in the book. That's something that I would have liked to see. And my question is, how did the Darkling get hurt by his creatures? Because in the book, in the second book at the beginning, he said, when she meets up with him again for whatever reason and whichever way it happens, he said, those are my creatures. I made them. They can't hurt me. And so he walked away without a scratch in the book. But in the TV show, he is stumbling out of the fold, basically crawling out, completely destroyed on one side of his face and all scratched up and torn up and all that stuff. Why would that change? His creatures that he created should not have been able to hurt him. If that was his army that he created, he should not have been hurt by them. That's just, no. And in the book, Jenya was on the skiff, because it's prominent in the second book that the Darkling doesn't like that she betrayed him by helping Alina in whatever way she helped him in the book. I don't really remember. It's been so long since I've read it. She helped Alina and helped her get away, and he paid her back by allowing those creatures to attack her, and she is all scarred up. And that is a lot of the basis for the second and third book. They talk about how she is ruined because she is all scarred up, and she was beautiful, and the bites from those creatures you cannot heal even with her abilities. So she is left scarred and damaged and ugly. Even though she's Jenya, you can't make her ugly. I don't understand why she wasn't on the skiff, or at least she could have just been flashed like as a background character. They didn't show her at all. And something different that I believe he did was he attacked the harbor. Like I said, I don't really remember the end of the book, but I don't remember him doing that in the book. So I could be wrong there. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I might be wrong. But it's just, he didn't seem like you know, he attacked the harbor just to, you know, warn people that we're done with war or whatever it was he was warning them about in the TV show. But I think that's all I can really remember. That's all the notes that I have. I am very excited for this TV show. I hope that they do more and very, very quickly. I doubt it will be anytime soon. You know how TV shows are. They're like, oh, we'll film this year and then we'll put it out next year. And then when shows like this get a bunch of hype, they're like, okay, well, we'll film next year and then we'll put season 2 out the year after. So I hope they're not doing that, because I don't want to wait till 2023 to watch season 2, because people will lose interest. They need to keep filming and move on and get it done, because people love it. And they could spin movies and all kinds of stuff off of this. And not just the TV show. If they kept it going, it will go pretty far. And from what I've heard, from what I've read, they did sign a contract for 4 more seasons. So hopefully that's true, and I would love to see it. I want to see more Darkling. I know I'm getting towards the end of Ruin and Rising, and if you guys haven't read it, probably shouldn't have been here, but if you haven't read it, ignore this next sentence. I'm pretty sure I've seen on Instagram a lot of fan art and stuff and a lot of spoilers for Ruin and Rising, so if I am correct in those spoilers, then Alina stabs the Darkling in the heart and he dies. So I really don't want that to happen in the TV show, because I love him and he's my favorite and I want him to live. So I don't want that to happen. So I think that is everything that I can remember from the TV show. I did want to talk about that in more detail because I only talked about it vaguely in the last one. I talked about a couple details that I remembered, and this time I went through and I took notes, and I actually did something pretty cool during the show, and I had an idea while I was watching the show, and I decided to implement it. I am currently working on making it real for my Etsy shop, so I will put my link tree in the description down below. It has all of my social media, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. Please follow my social media, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also go visit my Etsy shop, because I have a lot of bookmarks available for books that I have read and some books that I haven't read. And I am working on making a bunch of new bookmarks and some other new items to put up in my Etsy shop, hopefully soon. I'm still waiting on my taxes, still waiting on everything to get sorted out, and until then, all of my finances are tied up with all of our bills, so I don't really have any extra money to be buying supplies for my Etsy shop right now. So if you guys place your orders and do your stuff, I can probably buy my supplies a little bit sooner and make some of my new stuff. I would really appreciate any support on your pages. If you want to share my stuff, share it with your friends, family, whoever you think would like it, please do that. I look forward to talking about Ruin and Rising with you. Hopefully I do finish that up soon. I've been trying to finish that book for like 2 months now, and I still have not been able to do it. So I will hopefully finish that soon. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!